The Aegis moved through the darkness of space like a small fish swimming into a sea full of sharks. Captain Park Doan stood on the bridge with his hands behind his back, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. Around the station, thousands of alien warships floated in perfect formation. Each one was bigger than anything humanity had ever built. "We are receiving docking instructions," said Communications Officer Shin Yoonji. Her voice was calm, but Dohan could see the worry in her eyes. "Follow them," Dohan said. "And everyone, remember why we are here. We represent Earth. We represent every human being who ever lived. Stand tall." The Aegis was humanity's greatest achievement. It had taken 30 years and the combined effort of every nation on Earth to build it. The ship carried the most advanced technology humans had ever created. But as it approached the Galactic Assembly Station, it looked like a toy next to the alien vessels. Ambassador Kang Yuna joined Dohan on the bridge. She wore the formal black uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. Her face showed no emotion, but Dohan knew her well enough to see the tension in her shoulders. "The Valhari High Commander has invited all delegations to witness their fleet exhibition," Yuna said. 47 species will be watching, and they want us there to laugh at us," Dohan replied. Yuna nodded slowly. "Yes, but we must attend. This is our chance to show the galaxy that humanity deserves respect." The Aegis docked at the station. As the airlock opened, Dohan led his senior officers into the main hall. The sight that greeted them was both beautiful and terrifying. The hall was enormous. It could have held a small city inside it. Thousands of alien beings walked across the polished floors. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had no solid form at all. They came in every color and size imaginable, and every single one of them turned to look at the humans. The laughter started almost immediately. It was not loud at first, just whispers and strange sounds that Dohan's translator interpreted as amusement. But as the human delegation walked deeper into the hall, the laughter grew. Aliens pointed at them with claws and tentacles. Some made gestures that needed no translation. "Keep walking," Yuna whispered. "Do not react." A tall being with blue skin and 4 arms stepped directly into their path. The translator identified him as a Valhari noble. His face twisted into what might have been a smile. "So these are the humans," he said. His voice was deep and cold. "The species that took 1,000 years to reach their own moon. Tell me, do your ships still use burning fuel to fly?" "Our ships use whatever works," Dohan replied evenly. The Valhari laughed. "How charming." A primitive with pride. He looked at the other aliens nearby. "Perhaps we should put them in a museum. They could stand next to the other extinct species." Dohan felt his hands tighten into fists. Chief Engineer Beek Jisu touched his arm gently, a silent warning. He forced himself to relax. The diplomatic reception was worse. The humans were given seats at the very back of the Great Hall, far from the important delegations. The food provided to them was clearly meant as an insult. It looked like something scraped from a garbage container. Ambassador Yuna smiled and ate it anyway. "We will not give them the satisfaction of seeing us upset," she said quietly to her team. The Valhari High Commander Torvax took the central stage. He was massive, even for his species. His skin was dark purple, and his eyes glowed with a cruel yellow light. When he spoke, the entire hall fell silent. "Welcome, honored guests, to the annual fleet exhibition of the Valhari Empire," Torvax announced. "Today, you will witness the power that has protected this galaxy for 8,000 years. Today, you will remember why the Valhari rule." The view screens around the hall came to life. They showed the Valhari Armada in all its glory. Thousands upon thousands of warships, each one bristling with weapons. The other alien delegations made sounds of appreciation and fear. Torvax continued his speech, describing the firepower of his fleet. He talked about planets they had conquered and enemies they had destroyed. His voice was filled with pride that bordered on madness. Then his yellow eyes found the human delegation. "I see we have new guests this year," Torvax said. The hall grew quiet. The humans. The species that begged for observer status for 50 years. "Tell me, humans, what do you think of real warships?" Doan stood. Every eye in the hall turned to him. "They are impressive," he said simply. Torvax laughed. "Impressive? Your single ship could fit inside one of my cargo bays. Your weapons could not scratch the paint on my hull. Your entire species could be erased in an afternoon." He spread his forearms wide. "But I am generous. I will offer a demonstration. Any species may volunteer for a simulated combat exercise against our Decimator-class cruisers." No one moved. No one spoke. The fear in the hall was thick enough to taste. Torvax's smile grew wider. "No volunteers? Then perhaps I should choose." His glowing eyes locked onto Dohan. "You, human, bring your metal coffin and face my ships. Let the galaxy see what real warfare looks like. Consider it education." The hall erupted in laughter. Aliens from dozens of species made sounds of amusement. Some stamped their feet or slapped their tentacles against the floor. Ambassador Yuna grabbed Dohan's arm. "You cannot accept." "Our ship is not." "I accept," Dohan said. The laughter stopped. Torvax stared at the human captain with something that might have been surprise. "You accept?" "I do." "Name the time and place." Back on the Aegis, the crew gathered on the bridge. Chief Engineer Beat Jisoo was the first to speak. "Captain, with respect, have you lost your mind? Our experimental systems have not been fully tested. The adaptive camouflage has only worked in controlled conditions. The kinetic accelerators have never been fired at full power. We do not even know if Oracle can handle real combat calculations." Dohan looked at his crew. He saw fear in their faces, but he also saw something else. "Trust, Jisoo," he said quietly. "They laughed at us. They called our ship a coffin. They said our species could be erased in an afternoon. If we back down now, humanity will never be taken seriously. We will be slaves or pets or museum exhibits. Is that what you want?" Jisoo was silent for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "No, Captain. It is not." "Then prepare the ship." Dohan turned to face the view screen. The Volhari Armada hung in space like a promise of death. "If our systems have not been tested, then this is the test. And we will pass it. Or we will die trying." The Aegis began its preparations. In 12 hours, humanity would face the most powerful military force in the galaxy. And the galaxy would learn that it had made a terrible mistake. The combat zone was a section of empty space 1 million kilometers from the station. Every ship in the system had turned their sensors toward it. Every view screen in the Great Hall showed the same image. The tiny human vessel floating alone against the endless black. 3 Valhari Decimator-class cruisers moved into position. Each one was 20 times the size of the Aegis. Their hulls were covered in weapon ports. Their engines glowed with power that could destroy small moons. On worlds across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the broadcast. Betting pools had been opened within minutes of Torvax's challenge. The odds against the human ship surviving more than 12 seconds were 1,000 to 1. High Commander Torvax stood on the observation deck of his flagship, watching with a cruel smile. Ambassador Kang Yuna stood among the other diplomats in the Great Hall, her face still and calm. Only her hands, hidden inside her sleeves, showed her fear. They were shaking. On the bridge of the Aegis, Captain Park Doan sat in his command chair. His crew worked at their stations with focused silence. The air was thick with tension. "All stations report," Dohan ordered. "Weapons ready," said Han Mireille from the tactical console. Her fingers moved across the controls with practiced speed. "Engineering ready," said Baek Jisoo. "All experimental systems are online. Oracle is at full capacity." "Navigation ready," said Yoon Taiwan. "I have calculated 17 escape routes if things go wrong." "Communications ready," said Shin Yoonji. "The entire galaxy is watching, Captain." Dohan nodded slowly. "Good. Let them watch." The signal came from the Velhari command ship. A single tone that meant the exercise had begun. The 3 decimator cruisers surged forward. Their plasma lances began to charge, glowing bright orange against the darkness of space. Their targeting systems locked onto the Aegis with cold precision. Dohan did not give the order to move. "Captain," Mireille said, her voice tight with worry, "they are charging weapons." "Should one?" "Not yet." The Velhari ships grew larger on the view screen. Their weapons reached full charge. In seconds, they would fire. In seconds, the Aegis would be nothing but scattered atoms. "Captain." "Oracle," Dohan said calmly, "execute Protocol Shadow." The ship's artificial intelligence responded immediately. Protocol Shadow engaged. Every light on the Aegis went dark. Every system appeared to shut down. The ship went completely black, drifting in space like a dead thing dot in the Great Hall. The alien delegations made sounds of amusement. Many assumed the human ship had simply broken down from fear. Torvax laughed loudly enough to be heard across the room. "Pathetic," he declared. "Their ship died before we could kill it." Someone should tell the humans that. He never finished his sentence. The Aegis vanished from the Velhari targeting systems. One moment, it was there. The next moment, it was gone. The 3 decimator cruisers fired their plasma lances at empty space. "What?" Torvax leaned forward, his yellow eyes wide. "Where did it go?" On the bridge of the Aegis, Dahan allowed himself a small smile. "Adaptive camouflage is working," Jisoo reported. "They cannot see us, hear us, or detect us in any way. To their sensors, we do not exist." "Holographic projectors ready," Mireille added. "Execute Protocol Mirror," Dohan ordered. Suddenly, the Aegis appeared in 3 different places at once. Each image was perfect, showing the same ship from different angles. The Velhari sensors went crazy trying to determine which one was real. "Impossible," whispered one of the Velhari officers on the broadcast. "Which one is the real ship?" The answer was none of them. The real Aegis had slipped behind all 3 decimator cruisers, while they were distracted by the holograms. It floated in the one spot their weapons could not reach, directly behind their engine sections. "Kinetic accelerators charged," Mireille reported. Her voice was steady now, confident. "Targets locked." Dohan looked at the 3 massive warships on his view screen. Ships that had conquered worlds. Ships that had ended civilizations. Ships whose crews were only now beginning to realize something was wrong. "Fire," he said. The Aegis launched 3 metal rods. They were simple things, really. Just long pieces of dense metal with guidance systems. No explosives. No fancy technology. Just mass accelerated to 98% of the speed of light. The rods crossed the distance to their targets in a fraction of a heartbeat. The simulation computers registered the impacts. All 3 decimator cruisers were declared destroyed. Total combat time, 0.003 seconds. The Great Hall was silent. Completely, absolutely silent. Thousands of alien beings stared at the view screens with expressions of shock and disbelief. Torvax stood frozen on his observation deck. His mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Ambassador Yuna allowed herself a very small smile. "There must be a mistake," Torvax finally managed to say. "Reset the simulation." The human ship cheated somehow. The simulation was reset. The Aegis returned to its starting position. The 3 decimator cruisers reformed. The exercise began again. This time, the Velhari ships spread out immediately, trying to cover more angles. They fired continuously, filling space with plasma fire. They used every tactic their commanders had learned over centuries of warfare. It did not matter. The Aegis danced through the plasma fire like it was not there. Oracle predicted every shot before it was fired and moved the ship out of danger. The adaptive camouflage made the ship invisible whenever it stopped moving. The holographic projectors created false targets that drew fire away from the real vessel. And then, once again, 3 kinetic rounds ended the exercise in less than a second. The simulation was run a 3rd time. A 4th, a 5th. The result was always the same. Finally, Torvax raised his hand. "Enough," he said. His voice was quiet, dangerous. "This demonstration is over." The broadcast ended. The alien delegations in the Great Hall began to whisper among themselves. For the first time since humanity had arrived, no one was laughing. On the Aegis, the crew erupted in cheers. Han Mai hugged Beak Jizu. Yun Taiwan pumped his fist in the air. Even the calm Shin Yunji was smiling widely. Captain Dawn did not celebrate. He watched the Velhari fleet on his view screen with worried eyes. "Captain?" Jisu approached him. "We won." "Why do you look troubled?" "Because we embarrassed them," Dawn replied quietly. "We made the most powerful empire in the galaxy look foolish in front of everyone. Torvax will not forget this. The Velhari will not forgive this. What do you think they will do?" Dahan turned away from the view screen. "I do not know. But it will not be good. We need to warn Earth. We need to prepare." He walked toward his quarters, the cheers of his crew fading behind him. "We showed them that humans can fight," he said to himself. "Now they will show us what happens when an empire decides to destroy a species." The celebration continued on the Aegis, but Dohung could not shake the feeling that they had just started something terrible. Something that would cost humanity dearly. He was right. The Velhari would have their revenge. And it would come sooner than anyone expected. 6 months after the demonstration, the Velhari came for humanity. It happened without warning. 3 human agricultural stations on the edge of Earth's territory were destroyed in a single night. The Velhari did not bother to hide their involvement. They wanted humanity to know exactly who had killed 12,000 innocent people. Park Dohan received the news on Earth. He had been promoted to Fleet Admiral after the demonstration, given command of humanity's entire space force. When he heard the death count, he felt something cold settle in his chest. 12,000 lives, farmers, scientists, children, all gone in the flash of Velhari weapons. Earth's United Council met in emergency session. The chamber was filled with the leaders of every nation. Military advisor Cho Sun-woo stood before them with a grim expression. "The Velhari are mobilizing their entire armada," Sun-woo reported. "Our intelligence estimates 40,000 warships. They are heading directly for Earth." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Some leaders called for surrender. Others demanded weapons that humanity did not have. A few simply sat in shocked silence. "How many ships do we have?" asked the council chairman. Some who hesitated before answering. 17. 17 ships of the Aegis class. 17 against 40,000? The chairman's voice was hollow. "That is not a battle. That is an execution." Ambassador Kang Yuna stood from her seat. Her face was tired. She had spent the last 6 months trying to build alliances among the other galactic species. She had failed. "I addressed the Galactic Assembly this morning," Yuna said. "I requested intervention. I reminded them of the laws against unprovoked aggression. I begged for help." She paused, They offered condolences. Nothing more. The Valhari have protected their interests for 8,000 years. We are expendable. The chamber fell silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, Admiral Doan rose to his feet. "We are not expendable," he said. His voice was quiet but firm. "The Valhari think they can erase us because we are small, because we are new, because we are alone." He looked around the chamber at the frightened faces. "They are wrong. What can 17 ships do against 40,000? Someone asked. Dohan walked to the main display screen. He brought up a star chart showing Valhari space. At the center was a single world marked in red. "This is Throne," Dohan said. "The Valhari homeworld. 20 billion inhabitants. The heart of their entire civilization. You want to attack their homeworld?" The chairman shook his head. "That is suicide? Their armada would destroy us before we got close." "Their armada is coming here," Dohan replied. "Which means their homeworld is defended only by orbital stations and local forces. We do not fight their fleet. We go around it. We reach Throne before they reach Earth." Military advisor Sungwoo studied the star chart with narrowed eyes. "The route through their space would be heavily defended. We would face constant attacks. The chances of reaching Throne are small," Dohan admitted. Chief Engineer Baek Jisu estimates our survival probability at 2.3%. 2%? The chairman's voice rose. "You want to send our entire fleet on a mission with a 2% chance of success?" Dohan turned to face him. "What chance do we have if we stay here and wait for 40,000 warships to arrive?" "Zero. 2% is better than zero." The chamber was silent again. But this time, the silence felt different. Less fearful. More thoughtful. "Even if you reach Throne," Yuna said slowly, "what then? You cannot destroy an entire planet with 17 ships." Doan smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "We do not need to destroy it. We just need to threaten it. The Valhari love their homeworld more than anything. If we can put it at risk, they will negotiate. They will have to choose between conquering us and saving their home. And if they call our bluff, then it will not be a bluff." The vote was held that night. It was not unanimous, but the majority approved Operation Ashes. Humanity would send its entire fleet to Valhari space. They would either save Earth or die trying. Admiral Dohan gathered his 17 captains in a secure meeting room. They were the best officers humanity had. Men and women who had trained their entire lives for a moment like this. Among them was Commander Park Hyung, captain of the Defiance. She was Dohan's younger sister. They had grown up together, dreamed together of reaching the stars. Now they would fight together for the survival of their species. "The mission is simple to explain and nearly impossible to complete," Dohan told them. "We cross 3 hostile sectors, avoid or destroy any forces that try to stop us, and reach Throne before the main Valhari fleet realizes what we are doing. Once there, we use our special payload to threaten their world." "What payload?" asked one of the captains. Dohan looked at Jisu. She stepped forward with a datapad. "Project Ember," she explained. "A weapon based on quantum destabilization. It does not explode. It causes matter to lose cohesion at the atomic level. Anything affected by it simply stops being solid, falls apart into dust." The captains exchanged worried glances. "We have never used this weapon," Jisu continued. "We do not know exactly how powerful it is, but our tests suggest that a single payload could destabilize a small moon. We have multiple payloads on each ship." Hyung spoke up. "So we threaten to turn their moons to dust if they do not leave Earth alone?" "Yes, and if they refuse?" Dohan met his sister's eyes. "Then we do it. We make their world uninhabitable." We turned their civilization to ash. Hyung nodded slowly. There was no fear in her face, only determination. When do we leave? Tomorrow night. The Valhari fleet is still 3 weeks from Earth. If we move fast enough, we can reach Throne before they arrive here. But we cannot be slow. We cannot be careful. We fly straight through their territory at maximum speed, and we do not stop for anything. The meeting ended. The captains returned to their ships to prepare. Dohan walked to the observation window and looked out at the stars. Hyung joined him. This might be the last time we see Earth, she said quietly. I know. Are you afraid? Dohan thought about the question. No, he finally said. I am angry. The Valhari killed 12,000 of our people because we embarrassed them. Because we showed that humans could fight. They want to teach us our place in the galaxy. He turned to face his sister. I am going to teach them something instead. I am going to teach them that some lessons come with a price. Hyung smiled. That sounds like something father would say. He was a wise man. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. Tomorrow they would fly into the unknown. Many of them would not return. But they would show the galaxy something it had never seen before. They would show them what humanity could do when it had nothing left to lose. The human fleet launched from a hidden shipyard deep in the asteroid belt. 17 ships slipped into the darkness of space like ghosts. No announcements. No farewell ceremonies. Just silent engines and desperate hope. Admiral Park Dawn stood on the bridge of the Aegis, watching the familiar shapes of the solar system fade behind them. Earth was a small blue dot now, growing smaller with every passing minute. He wondered if he would ever see it again. All ships report ready, said Shin Yoonji from the communication station. Formation is holding. We are clear of detection range. Navigator, set course for the first wormhole corridor. Dohan ordered. Yoon Taiwan worked at his console. Course laid in. The corridor is unstable, Admiral. Only small ships can pass through safely. The Valhara cruisers are too large to follow us. That is why we are using it. Maximum speed. The fleet accelerated into the void. Behind them, Earth waited for either salvation or destruction. The first day passed without incident. The wormhole corridors were strange and frightening, filled with colors that human eyes could not properly understand. But the ships held together. The crews stayed focused. On the second day, they met the enemy. A Valhari patrol group appeared on sensors without warning. 10 ships smaller than the decimators but still dangerous. They had been waiting at the corridor exit, obviously expecting something. They knew we were coming, Baekje-soo said grimly. Someone told them our route. It does not matter, Doham replied. Tactical status? Han Marie's fingers flew across her console. Enemy ships are moving to intercept. They will be in weapons range in 3 minutes. All ships, battle formation. Do not slow down. We punch through them and keep moving. The battle was fast and brutal. The human ships used their speed and camouflage to avoid the worst of the enemy fire. Oracle coordinated the fleet's movements, making them dance through plasma fire like leaves in the wind. But the Valhari had learned from the demonstration. They had studied human tactics. They adapted. 2 ships fell in the first engagement. The Horizon took a direct hit to its engine section. Captain Nam Jeon ordered her crew to abandon ship even as flames spread through the corridors. When the last escape pod launched, she turned her dying vessel toward the largest Valhari ship. This is Captain Nam of the Horizon, she broadcast to the fleet. Tell Earth we did our duty. Tell them we were not afraid. The Horizon struck the Valhari cruiser at full speed. Both ships vanished in a ball of fire. The Resolve followed minutes later. Its captain, Kwon Dong-woo, made the same choice. Rather than slow the fleet with a crippled ship, he used his final moments to create an opening for the others. Doan watched both explosions on his view screen. He did not allow himself to look away. "Communications. Record their final transmissions for Earth's archives," he ordered. His voice was steady, but his hands gripped the armrests of his chair until his knuckles turned white. "Recorded," Yunji replied quietly. The fleet pushed on. 15 ships now instead of 17. The second hostile sector was worse. The Velhari had gathered a larger force here. 20 ships blocked the path to Throne Dot this time. The battle lasted for hours. The human ships weaved and dodged, their oracle systems working together to create patterns the Velhari could not predict. Kinetic rounds tore through enemy hulls. Adaptive camouflage made the human vessels disappear and reappear in unexpected places. 4 more ships were lost. Captain Oh Seongmin of the Guardian stayed behind to hold a crucial passage, while the others escaped. Captain Bae Yunseo of the Valiant sacrificed her ship to destroy a Velhari command vessel that was coordinating the enemy attacks. 11 ships remained. On the Defiance, Commander Park Hyung fought her own desperate battle. Her ship had taken heavy damage. Half her crew was wounded. Fire suppression systems were failing on 3 decks. "Commander, we have lost main propulsion," her engineer reported. "We are falling behind the fleet." Hyung looked at her view screen. The Aegis was pulling ahead, leading the remaining ships toward safety. Behind her, a Velhari interception force was closing in. How long to repair engines? 30 minutes. Maybe more. They did not have 30 minutes. The Velhari ships would reach them in 10. Hyung made her decision quickly. "All hands, abandon ship. Get to the escape pods." "Commander?" "That is an order. Everyone off this ship now." Her crew moved quickly, trained to follow orders even when they did not understand them. Hyung stayed on the bridge, watching them leave on the internal monitors. When the last pod launched, she turned to face the approaching enemy. She opened a communication channel to the Aegis. "Brother." Dohan's face appeared on her screen. She could see the pain in his eyes. He already knew what she was going to do. "Hyung, there must be another way." "There is not." She smiled at him. It was the same smile she had given him when they were children, when she had been brave and foolish and full of hope. "The Velhari command ship is leading their formation. If I hit it, their coordination will collapse. The fleet will escape. Hyung, tell Earth I did my duty. Tell them I was not afraid." She paused. "And tell Mother I love her. Tell her I am sorry I will not come home." "Hyung, please." "Goodbye, brother. Finish the mission. Save our people." She cut the communication and turned the Defiance toward the Velhari command ship. Her engines were damaged, but she still had enough power for one final run. The enemy ships fired at her. Plasma burned through her hull. Systems failed one by one. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks. Hyun kept her eyes fixed on her target. The Velhari command ship grew larger and larger on her view screen. "This is for the 12,000. She whispered. "This is for Earth." The Defiance struck the command ship at maximum speed. The explosion lit up the sector like a new star. On the Aegis, Admiral Dohan watched his sister die. He did not cry. He did not scream. He simply stood very still, watching the fire fade into darkness. "Admiral?" Jisu's voice was gentle. "We need to keep moving." Dohan nodded slowly. "Yes, we do." He turned away from the view screen. His face was stone. His heart was breaking. But the mission continued. 10 ships reached Throne. 10 ships carrying the hope of humanity. 10 ships crewed by people who had watched their friends die and kept flying anyway. The Velhari homeworld hung before them, blue and green and beautiful. 20 billion lives living in peace, unaware that judgment had arrived at their door. Admiral Dohan looked at the world that had caused so much pain. He thought of his sister. He thought of the 12,000 farmers and scientists and children who had been murdered for pride. All ships, he said, take positions around the 3 moons. Prepare Project Ember payloads for launch. The time for running was over. The time for reckoning had begun. The Valhari orbital defense grid had protected Throne for 8,000 years. No enemy had ever breached it. No weapon had ever touched the sacred soil of the homeworld. The defenses were legendary. They were considered unbreakable. Admiral Park Dohan did not try to break them. The 10 remaining human ships took positions around Throne's 3 moons. They did not approach the planet. They did not attack the defense grid. They simply waited, floating in the cold darkness of space. The Valhari defenders watched with confusion. Their sensors tracked the human vessels, but the ships made no hostile moves. Warning messages were sent demanding the humans withdraw. The messages were ignored. On the bridge of the Aegis, Chief Engineer Beek Jisu monitored the Project Ember payloads. All ships report payloads ready, she said. Targeting solutions are locked. On your order, Admiral. Dohan stared at the view screen. Throne was beautiful from space. Swirling clouds, blue oceans, cities that sparkled like jewels in the night side. 20 billion people who had no idea what was about to happen. Open a channel to the Valhari command, he ordered. Let them hear this. Shin Yunji worked her console. Channel open. Broadcasting on all frequencies. Dohan stood and faced the camera. He thought of his sister. He thought of the dead. He thought of Earth, waiting to learn its fate. People of the Valhari Empire, he began. My name is Admiral Park Dohan of the Human Fleet. 6 months ago, your ships destroyed 3 of our agricultural stations. 12,000 of our people died. Farmers, scientists, children. They were murdered because your high commander could not accept being defeated in a simulation. He paused, letting the words sink in. Your armada is currently heading toward Earth. 40,000 ships sent to destroy a species of 8 billion people. All because we embarrassed you. All because we showed that humans could fight. On Throne, millions of Valhari stopped what they were doing to watch the broadcast. In the great cities, view screens showed the human admirals speaking words that shook their understanding of the universe. You thought we would wait for death, Dohan continued. You thought we would accept our extinction like good little primitives. You were wrong. He turned slightly, gesturing toward the view screen behind him. It showed the 3 moons of Throne. My ships are carrying weapons you have never seen. We call them Ember payloads. They do not explode. They do not burn. They cause matter to simply stop existing. Everything they touch turns to dust. In the Valhari Command Center, officers scrambled to analyze the human weapons. What they found made them pale with fear. In a few minutes, I will give the order to fire these payloads into your 3 moons. Within days, the moons will crumble. The debris will fill the space around Throne. Your planet will become uninhabitable. Your civilization will be forced to relocate or die. Dohan's voice hardened. You called our ship a mockery. You called our species primitive. You killed 12,000 of our people for your pride. Now I am offering you a choice. He held up one hand. Call back your armada. Leave Earth alone. Sign a treaty of peace that recognizes humanity as a sovereign power. Do this, and we stop the destabilization. Your world survives. Your children inherit something besides ash. He closed his hand into a fist. Refuse, and we fire. Your moons crumble. Your civilization falls. Your empire becomes dust and memory. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with cold fury. We do not want your empire. We do not want your worlds. We just want to be left alone. The choice is yours. The channel closed. Dohan sat back down in his chair. Now we wait, he said quietly. The waiting was hard. Minutes passed like hours. The crew of the Aegis watched the Velhari defense grid with tense eyes. At any moment, the aliens might decide to attack instead of negotiate. Then a communication request came through. "It is High Commander Torvax," Yunji reported. "He wants to speak with you directly. Put him through." The view screen flickered. Torvax's face appeared, and Dohan was shocked by what he saw. The arrogant High Commander who had laughed at humanity was gone. In his place was a broken creature, fear and rage fighting for control of his features. "You would not dare," Torvax hissed. "You would not destroy an innocent world." "You destroyed innocent stations," Dohan replied calmly. "You were coming to destroy an innocent Earth. Do not talk to me about what I would or would not do. If you fire those weapons, every species in the galaxy will hunt humanity to extinction. Perhaps, but your species will be dust long before that happens. Your choice, High Commander. Save your pride or save your people. You cannot have both." Torvax's face twisted with hatred. For a long moment, Dolan thought the Velhari would choose war, would choose to let his world die rather than submit to humans. Then something changed in Torvax's eyes. The hatred remained, but it was buried beneath something else, something that looked like defeat. "What are your terms?" he asked. The negotiations took 3 hours. Ambassador Kang Yuna joined by secure communication from Earth, helping to draft a treaty that would protect humanity forever. The Velhari Armada was recalled. Reparations were agreed upon. A permanent peace was established. When it was done, Dohun gave the order to stand down the Ember payloads. The moons of Throne would survive. The Velhari civilization would continue. But they would never forget what humanity had been willing to do. The fleet returned home slowly. 7 ships had been lost. Hundreds of crew members had died. The cost of survival had been terrible. On Earth, crowds gathered to welcome the returning heroes. But Admiral Dawn did not feel like a hero. He stood on the bridge of the Aegis as it entered Earth's orbit, looking down at the blue world he had saved. "We did it," Jisoo said softly. "We actually did it." "Yes," Dawn replied. "But at what cost?" He thought of Hyung. He thought of all the captains and crews who had given their lives. He thought of the moment when he had been willing to destroy an entire civilization. "We showed them we could be monsters," he said. "We showed them we could turn worlds to dust. Is that really something to celebrate?" Jisoo was quiet for a moment. Then she touched his arm gently. "We showed them we would do anything to protect our people. That is not monstrous. That is love." The memorial service was held 1 week later. Dohan stood before a crowd of millions and read the names of every person who had died. It took hours. He did not stop. He did not shorten the list. Every name mattered. When he reached Commander Park Hyung, captain of the Defiance, his voice finally broke. He stopped speaking. The crowd waited in respectful silence while he gathered himself. "My sister," he said finally, "gave her life so the fleet could reach Throne. She was brave and kind and full of hope. She believed in humanity. She believed we deserved to survive." He looked up at the crowd. "We will honor her belief. We will honor all of them. Not just by surviving, but by building something worth surviving for." Ambassador Yuna addressed the Galactic Assembly one final time. "Humanity never asked to be part of your wars," she told the gathered species. "We only wanted peace. But if peace must be bought with fire, then understand this." She paused, letting her words echo through the great hall. "We have plenty of fire." Chief Engineer Baek Jisoo retired from active service. She accepted a position at Earth's Naval Academy, teaching the next generation of engineers. Her first lecture began with a simple statement. "The galaxy thought our prototype was a joke. Let me teach you how we built the punchline. The 17 ships of the Aegis class became legend. Songs were written about them. Stories were told. Children played games pretending to be the brave crews who had saved Earth. But humanity did not rest. More ships were built. More weapons were developed. More defenses were raised. Because they had learned the most important lesson the galaxy had to offer. The universe did not respect the peaceful. It respected those who could turn civilizations to dust. And chose not to. Admiral Park Dahan spent his final years in a small house by the ocean, far from the noise of cities and the memories of war. Sometimes he would sit on his porch and watch the stars appear in the evening sky. Sometimes he would talk to them. "We made it, Hyung," he would whisper. "We kept our promise. Humanity survived." The stars never answered. But somehow, on those quiet nights, Dohun felt like his sister was listening. And maybe, just maybe, she was proud.